beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of Youth Perspective with yours sincerely, Joy Okmani. I said last week we talked about turning hobbies into profits, and yes, this week is a part 2 of that topic. So you have to stay glued to your TV set because trust me, it's going to be a fun ride throughout on today's episode. Right now, we're going to ask streets, make we hear from you, and you. Not go anywhere because this is Youth Perspective. Hey beautiful people, it's nice to still have you on the program. It is time to hear from our guest in the studio. And of course, the topic still remains turning hobbies into profits. And of course, I have with me a beautiful guest. As usual, I don't bring, you know, people around here. And I have with me Faith. Hi, Faith.
Hello, nice meeting you. Hello, everyone.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
You good?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yes, please.
So let's get it started, right?
All right.
So we can finish up and, move on, right?
All right.
Okay. So, first and first, how would you actually define hobbies?
Okay, hobbies is actually what you love doing. Basically, it's what you find pleasure in without so much stress, so much effort. Is what you do subconsciously or consciously.
You just do it because you love to do it.
Because you love to do it.
That's
basically
what hobbies is.
Yeah.
Okay. So, when did you realize that you can actually turn hobbies into profits? Well, first of all, what are your hobbies? Because we have to establish what your hobbies are before we can actually understand how we can turn our hobbies into profits. So what are your hobbies, first of all?
Okay, basically my hobbies are, I love teaching. Yes, I love telling stories and writing stories.
Writing?
Yes.
I think at a point, almost every one of us tried writing stories as kids.
Exactly.
Because I think I remember one, I tried writing talking furniture. Don't even ask me where that story is today. Honestly speaking, actually, let's not go into my own story right now. But you said your hobbies, writing, telling stories, of course, and teaching.
Yeah.
So how did you realize that you can actually turn those your hobbies that you like to do, what you like to do most? How did you realize you can turn them into profits?
Okay, this actually happened not so far from now.
Okay.
Yeah, because while growing up, I found myself writing a lot of stories. I'll just write it. We read magazines, newspapers, and we saw some cartoon stories. So I like recreating what I saw. So I started writing. But I never knew it could actually fetch me money. I did it because I just loved it. Then because my dad was a teacher, I love teaching. I love those cane and all those things, yes. So I basically taught while I was a child, like teaching.
Oh, you started teaching when you were even a kid?
Yes, teaching other children, and I also discovered that while I was about transitioning from the children's section, I remained. I became a children teacher while 18.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
While 18?
Yes, while I was a teenager.
Yeah, teenager. Let's clarify.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes. So while I was a youth,
of course,
I was employed in a school.
Okay.
While doing my master's program.
Okay.
Yeah. So while I was teaching in the school, we were given a task every week. You're going to have some vocational Bible studies where you get to tell stories. You don't just come and preach, but you tell stories that can help build up the moral standards of children. So I started writing week by week. There are some days I don't just plan for it, but within 24 hours I get the story ready.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. So when I had the privilege of sitting with my director in school then, she was like, I love this story. How did you get to write this story? Do you copy it from Google or from the internet? I told her no, it's just something that comes on its own. She was like, wow, this is incredible. So with that, I started thinking on, you have so much value here. Why not have a compilation of all the stories you've written from this school and sell it?
Imagine.
You can collaborate with the school and make it a standard vocational Bible school stories for children. Then with that, the thought started growing. Then I decided to tell some friends about it. And basically, I told one person first. When I told him, he was like, wow, that's a good idea. Write down your goals and pursue them. I was like, okay, fine. I'm going to do exactly just that. Then for the teaching, I've always loved teaching. I have watched my cousin taught, and so one day I contacted her and I was like, I like to do what you do. Help me, connect me with some home lesson. Let's start from there. She was like, oh, I can help you. And I did. I started teaching, and when I taught them, just my appearance alone, the children loved me. And the man made a comment. He said, my children don't just accept anybody, but it seems you have a beautiful spirit, so you are already employed.
Why not?
So I taught them and they were impressed. They made academic progress. After some time, I stopped teaching them. I met another man on the road. He was like, why don't you, where are you coming from? I said, I just went to teach. I was like, please, I need it for my children. Even a child that could not really talk where he has not started school was about starting KG1.
Yeah.
So I taught him and he came out second.
Can you
And the
imagine?
rest that the teacher has been complaining, this guy is not good, he's slow to learn, he improved. With that, the dad just said he's not going to get any other lesson teacher, I should continue.
And just like that, you started making money from it.
Yes.
That's cool though. I think I should go and start teaching.
Yes, you can really make a lot of money
But
from
not everybody
teaching.
can actually now do it. Like for example, it's not something I think I would actually like to do. Something I would just pick up one day and say, let me do this thing, right? I don't think I'll do well in it because that's not even my area to begin with. But for you who just have that hobby, you started from a hobby, something you just like to do, even without second thought. It doesn't stress you out, you just do it. But did you not face any challenges while trying to transition into turning your hobbies into profits? Because of course, you kind of say that like a part-time thing, something like a side gig all the time. It turned full-time, yes?
Yes.
Can you imagine? So for it to turn full-time, what were the challenges that you actually faced before it became a full-time?
Okay, my first challenge actually was self-doubt.
Okay.
Being that I've not been trained, I didn't study education. I probably had not taught before.
Oh, you didn't want to study education?
No.
Nice one.
It was a hobby. I just like teaching children.
Continue.
So being that I did not study education or something related to that, and all I do is to teach children in church, I get to see improvements in their lives. That's all I do. So trying to venture into this as a full-time career, I was scared. I had self-doubt because I never knew if I was able to deliver as much as expected. So the first thing I did was that I stayed humble. I told the person or my employer that I'm basically, this is the first time I'm doing this. I'll do my best, but don't keep your expectations so low. But when I ventured into it, they were actually happy about it.
And just like that?
And just like that, I started teaching. So basically, my first challenge was self-doubt. Yeah.
What other challenges were there?
Yeah, other challenges were expectation, like I said, not being able to meet up to the expected desire or academic excellence. But as God will always have his way, I scaled through.
That's nice. So you overcome the you overcame the self-doubt.
Yes.
And then you're able to even beat the expectations, even though the channel info, like telling you that this is what we expect to, because you've already told them before time that don't be so high up, still bring me down here. And to like we said, make as God will have it. You actually did good. You did well, and that is very, very interesting to hear that you actually overcame that struggle and all. Okay, so that moves me to my next question. The fact that it's a hobby, it started as a hobby, don't you think it's going to be stressful turning that hobby into a full-time business? Because for me personally, I like hair. In whole dots, I love hair. I mean, I won't go into my own hobby, but I like to install hair, make hair braid and all that. I'm not that good, but I know that if I should go into it, I'll do well in it. That is it. But now, putting my mind to it is one thing. Me doing it just as a side gig is one thing, but now going full-time is something else entirely. In the process of it all, I feel like I may get tired of it. So how would you now handle the stress that may come with it? How did you handle that stress? Because going from something you just like to do into a full-time business, it had to be a very big change, of course. So how did you handle that stress?
Okay, first and foremost, in life, I've always heard this: hard work pays. Whether it's a hobby or it's not a hobby, it will place demand on you. So you have to choose your demand.
Choose your demand.
Yes. So it's not just all about stress. What you focus on grows. If you focus on the stress, you are going to continue seeing that as stressful. But if you focus on the fact that this is what I love to do, you are never going to see stress in it. Now, for example, the first time I actually tried, because I started as a lesson teacher, I started going out to teach in a school for the very first time. I observed that I could not manage the class properly. That was another challenge, managing the crowd. Of course, I went back to someone I saw as a mentor and I discussed with those that have experiences. And when I discussed with them, they told me the techniques on how to handle that issue. So when you discover you undergo stress in turning your hobbies into profit, go back to those that have experiences. That's the importance of mentorship. The fact it's an hobby does not mean there will not be challenges. Definitely there will be. But having mentors, they're just like a shoulders to fly. Yeah, so there's importance in having someone that has gone ahead of you to help you or to trail you along the path where you are willing to go. Yeah.
That's interesting. So having a mentor is one thing that can actually help, you know, in scaling through it.
Yes.
Like you mentioned, if you see that, okay, this thing is going sideways, it's important to have somebody can fall back on, to actually rely on, to actually see you through it. But what if there's no mentor? What if there's nobody? Because I don't think it's everyone out. I don't think it's everybody out there who actually have somebody they can say they can call on easily to actually, you know, help them through that process. Like you had somebody, your cousin was teaching, right?
Yeah, but she wasn't even the person I met.
She wasn't even the person.
So let me tell you about something about it. That's why it's important to value relationship. Okay, I never studied mathematics. Okay. But I started up teaching in a school, teaching maths.
Interesting. If that was me, let's not say anything. Those kids will not.
So since it was just primary school, I started with, I was like, probably I will scale through. But do you know what? I met with a good mathematics teacher that has experience at least 4 years and has had a lot of awards. And he was ready to listen to me. I have never met him anywhere, but I knew he was very, very good.
Interesting.
So I told him, see, this is the first time I'm doing this. I would need your help in scaling through this. He told me to relax, quit the fear. You can do it. That alone encouraged me, and I stepped up. I watched how he does his. I stepped up and I started, and to God be the glory, it went well.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's really, really good. So even if there is no mentor, still, like you just mentioned, you can do it.
Talk to someone that has done it before.
Talk to somebody, who has done it before. You may not even need to know the person personally.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be your family friend or your bestie. Just reach out to somebody who actually has experience in that thing that you want to do. Just for example, you are an entrepreneur, for example, you want to go into business. You have the capacity of going to business with the stress that comes with that thing. I tried, and my sister, let's not go to that. So you see, there are plenty things that I could actually say I have as something I just want to do by the side, but going into it fully, there are always challenges going full time into it. So it's always best to speak to somebody who already knows how the do's and don'ts in that area. So it just makes things easier. At least we have social media these days that can actually relate you to people. It's not as if, okay, there's nobody to reach out to. I think if you open one social media, I think the black app, I wanted to dance everywhere on TikTok, you just open it and private search somebody around this area, people around this area, and you see things like that that can actually help you and make things easier for you. So finally, what will you tell people out there who actually have these hobbies and they want to do something, they want to make it full time? What can you tell them?
Okay, first and foremost, I would say this: there is no human without a potential. Discover what you love and go for it. When you love it, gain mastery, gain consistency, and never give up. Because why? No good thing is built in a day. You may fall 7 times, you may fall as many times, but know that if you can stay put, you will surely see the end.
Chai, I need to jot this down. This one is for me. I don't know for you guys, but that was for me. So people, just stay tuned because of course we have more packages for you on Youth Perspective. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
Would you rather win an Olympic medal for snowboarding or get attacked by a great white shark? Either would be a life-changing, low-probability event, but you have power in your decisions. Stay out of the ocean, you won't meet a shark. Keep off the mountain, you won't make the Olympics. And both situations involve risk. Although most people think of risks as negative, really any situation with an uncertain outcome involves risk. Like trying something new. You might like it a little, you might like it a lot, maybe you don't like it at all. But growing, learning, and becoming you requires a willingness to try things you might not like. Most risk-taking isn't bad for your well-being. It is a normal part of healthy development, something successful people need to do. Would Malala Yousafzai have received the Nobel Peace Prize at 17 without taking the risk to speak out about a girl's right to an education? Risky behaviors range from negative to positive risks, from unhealthy, destructive decisions to socially acceptable risks that test your limits with few consequences. To think clearly about risk, focus on two central elements. First, how likely is the risky outcome? And second, how big is its impact? In assessing the size of a risk, you might remember the hip check. It can be hard to come back from permanent, something temporary we can work through. In assessing likelihood, we can talk with experts, like doctors, gather statistics from credible sources, even make estimates based on the best information we can get. Problem is, these are all subject to decision traps. For example, we naturally concentrate on what it is we want, and can ignore outcomes we don't want. We can incorrectly assume it won't happen to me. We can set ourselves up for failure. Further, inside the teen brain, the rational prefrontal cortex is still developing. The emotional amygdala is easily activated, and social rewards capture attention. The attraction to exploration is natural. You just need to keep in mind your long-term survival. With negative risk-taking, like speeding, drug use, or vandalism, there may be the excitement of getting away with something, but there's reason behind rules and penalties to avoid. Consciously taking on positive risks outside your comfort zone is a better strategy. Risk can be as simple and difficult as sharing your beliefs, asking for help, or trying out for a team. One way to help each other take positive risks is by limiting the downside of a risk. If someone stumbles, help them up. By making it easier to recover, you lower their risk. When you need a hand, you'll appreciate the support. We can watch our decision fitness, remembering to halt when we are not in our right mind. We can be mindful of and avoid crossing the stupid line, the line we draw between a smart risk and a stupid risk. We all have different values and different risk tolerance as a result. Respecting that is important. But sometimes a true friend can help us see something we're missing. Working together, we can craft a culture that encourages appropriate risks. Rather than ordering, "Don't do that," it can be a reminder, there are better alternatives. Not just to get attention, to get the right kind of attention, with momentum that moves you and those around you towards a better future.
And that is all on today's episode of Youth Perspective. I hope you got inspired by our guests. Actually, how to turn our hobbies into, yes, money, of course, profit. So until next episode of Youth Perspective, I remain yours sincerely, Joy Chiwendu Okmani. Remember, your voice is valuable and your perspective